Scottish Island Peaks Race 2025 video log for Team Tangaroa. The race started with very hot, dry conditions. Des, Nick and Stephen did some boat maintenance in the morning, servicing the winches, getting all the sheets and sails and lines ready for the sailing race. Ross and I headed over to the sailing club for the start at midday with a short 7k run round the hills to the south of Oban.
3, 2, 1,
After the run there's a chaotic kayak race out to the yacht, and then we had a good match race with Jezebel to see who could be first out of Oban Harbour. So here we've got us tacking out the narrows at the entrance to Oban Harbour.
Well, it was close, but technically out the bay first. Well done, Stephen.
Once we were clear of Oban Harbour we picked up a bit of breeze and it built as we passed Lismore. We're the yellow boat in the tracker here, chasing Jezebel up the Sound of Mull and into Salon, where we arrived at about 4:30. So Ross and I are trying to get ready for the run, and you can see the wind has picked up significantly. We're sailing upwind into a force 4. We set off on the Ben More leg about 5 minutes behind Jezebel. We had a good leg, we ran quite well. We were overtaken by Joe Simmons and his brother on Opportune. So it took a couple of hours to get to the top of Ben More. We were there about 6:30 in the evening. There was a beautiful light over the top of Ben More as the sun set. The conditions were really dry and hard underfoot. The rocks really loose. We were back on the boat by about 9 p.m, set off back down the Sound of Mull, where we had a beautiful sunset sail. We got some food, we got some more juice to rehydrate, and the conditions were good. We had a tailwind, we got the spinnaker up. We were running as hard as we could all the way back up the road. The guys started doing their best to chase down the boats ahead. But at this point Jezebel were starting to extend quite a substantial lead. Once it got dark, Ross and I went off to get some rest before the next run on Jura. There was a bit of a race to try and make the tidal gate at the Sound of Ling. Unfortunately, we didn't get there early enough. Jezebel did, and they managed to sneak through. We decided to go down inside the Garvalach Islands for the Corryvreckan, hoping we'd get enough wind to sneak through, but we got held up there for several hours. We found an eddy on the shore of Scarva, which was carrying us eastwards, but unfortunately it only took us so far, and then we got pulled back round into the main current. So this is the Corryvreckan at sunrise. The tide is flowing from left to right here, and you can see the north end of Jura with the moon just rising. So we went round in circles for several hours. The boats behind caught us up. Once the tide turned, we did manage to get across to the Jura shore, and from there we worked our way up through the Corryvreckan and into the Sound of Jura. But once we were in the Sound of Jura, it's still a very, very long way, all the way south to Craighouse.
Corryvreckan!
We got into Craighouse around 2 PM and set off for the run up the Paps. There was quite a large number of boats coming in just behind us at this point, and Jezebel had already completed their run and were setting off for the Mulligan, so they were a whole leg ahead. This is the summit of Pap 1, Ross just adding our tag to the checkpoint.
Nice one. Good job.
The view up northwards towards Pap 2 and 3, and looking down the ski runs back towards Craighouse where we came up on the ascent. This is the climb up towards the summit of Pap 2, and the view over the Sound of Islay itself, back along the ridge towards Pap 1, down over towards Craighouse and the Mulligan in the distance, and then that's the third Pap. This is a scree run off the third Pap. The scree runs were really difficult and dangerous this year. The very dry conditions meant the scree was super loose and liable to rock falls. We were keen to get down to the water source you can see at the bottom there to get some juice, because we hadn't had anything to drink since we'd left Craighouse.
Okay, but I mean, it's like kind of thin. Something ridiculous.
We took just under 4 hours on Jura, so we were back on the boat on Saturday evening for the long sail down to the Mulligan. Thankfully we got some wind. Again, it was a tailwind, so we had the spinnaker up, and we had a beautiful sunset sail with the Paps of Jura and Islay in the background. Team spirit was pretty good at this point. We had some tunes on, we'd had some food, we'd had a pretty good day after a difficult evening or Friday night. So again, Ross and I went off for some rest once it got dark, and the guys sailed us round the Mull. We got woken up the next morning with the boat sailing upwind into a quite solid force 4 again. Tally 2 had got past us in the night. They were a very fast boat, but we closed up quite well coming into Lumlash. So this is the boat on Sunday morning, beating upwind, again probably around about 4:30 in the morning. Very cold on deck. Quite hard to sleep downstairs. We've got the Mulligan down in the distance behind us. Sunrise. And Arran just on the bow, working our way upwind towards the Plada Lighthouse.
Yeah.
So we got into Lumlash about 8:30 in the morning. It wasn't too hot for the run up and down Goat Fell. We managed to overtake Tally 2 on the run. We pushed really hard. We were trying to make enough time on them that we could hold off their faster yacht for the sail across the Troon. The wind had dropped when we came out of Lumlash, so we had a bit of rowing, and then it filled in a bit from the south and we got the spinnaker up and we were getting chased down by Tally 2, but we managed to just hold them off to get into Troon. So we took second place, finishing in Troon. The team are all really happy with that. I think that was about as well as we could have done in those conditions.